So I really believe that everything that has happened to me has been an incredible privilege, which does not mean that I have used magical thinking on it. You know, I've had experiences that have been very, very, very painful and tough.
It's quite normal that people suppress their emotions and don't show them because so-called negative emotions are not welcome. They're not welcome. No one wants to feel them. No one wants to deal with them.
Hello and welcome to She with Ade The One. And as usual, I'm your host, Ade. Today, I'm excited to bring to you two extraordinary women with wonderful stories, practical wisdom, and the moments that shape who they are as women. As you know, this month's theme is on love, being February and Valentine's Day falling right in the middle of it. So we've been talking about love, relationships, and particularly how that applies to loving yourself. It's a topic that speaks to the heart of how we connect with others and, most importantly, with our very essence. But before we dive in, let's take a moment to center ourselves. What are you grateful for today? Think about it, feel it, let it bring a smile to yourself. I'm uber grateful for this space, for these incredible women that we're about to meet, and for you, my wonderful listeners. So let's get started. My first guest today is Steffi Dornseif. Steffi is a freedom, health, and love coach based in Bali, working with clients worldwide. Her mission is to help people build more loving and nourishing relationships with themselves and others through her lived experiences and years of study. Welcome, Steffi. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much for welcoming me here.
My next guest is Catherine Rolt. Catherine lives in the UK and is an integrated medical spiritual facilitator, international best-selling author, and expert in well-being, pain, and grief recovery. She helps her clients understand the interconnectedness between the mind, the body, and the spirit, guiding them to make radical, lasting changes. You're welcome, Catherine. Thank you for honouring my invitation.
Thank you, Ed. It's such a mouthful. Sometimes I just feel like when people say, "What do you do?" and I go, "I'm just a woman." That's because being a woman absolutely encompasses almost anything
True,
and everything.
I agree with that. Yes, absolutely.
That's what love is.
True. All right, I'm going to start with you, Steffi. Before we jump right in, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be a freedom, health, and love coach? I mean, what inspired you to do this work?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. It's been a pretty wild ride. I used to live a pretty normal life. I studied marketing, worked as a product manager, lived a very beautiful life in Norway back then, until I had this massive breakup that changed my whole life. That was like my midlife crisis right before I turned 30. Everything crumbled to pieces. I lost everything. And after that, I moved to Bali and started a very different chapter of my life. And I was trying to make sense of what happened. I was trying to understand how relationships work. How do men work? I was just, trying to find so many answers. And when I came here, I also experimented a lot and had different kinds of relationships that taught me so much. And I learned a lot through these experiences, while at the same time I was really diving deep into studying relationships, studying psychology, trying to understand other humans, myself included, starting with myself, of course. I went on my healing journey, and I was observing other people and learning from them, and started studying all kinds of modalities. So I really went deep into like self-development and understanding love and relationships, and trying to find a way that works for me. And eventually I started passing on that knowledge and that experience to others, helping them to find loving, healthy relationships with themselves, and then also with their current or future partners.
It's fabulous. And may I just ask then, what's the first step that you encourage your clients to take towards building that foundation of love, whether with a romantic partner or with themselves?
Yeah, it always starts with ourselves, of course. That's the foundation of a loving and healthy relationship with others. It's to have a healthy, loving and nourishing relationship with ourselves. And for me, that starts with feeling ourselves, feeling our emotions. I observe that a lot of people are quite disconnected from themselves, including myself. Before I came here and I started discovering and learning that, I used to suppress my emotions. That's how I grew up in Germany. It's quite normal that people suppress their emotions and don't show them, because so-called negative emotions are not welcome. They're not welcome. No one wants to feel them. No one wants to deal with them. No one wants to have them in their space. We'll just try to be happy all the time. That's the expectation.
Impossible.
And we're so afraid of these negative emotions, so-called negative emotions. In my opinion now, no emotion is negative, because they're all here for us. All emotions are here to inform us, to teach us something, to show us something. They're helping us to navigate our life and to figure out what's right and wrong for us. And the way to healing starts with feeling our emotions. It's like letting go of the fear of emotions and allowing ourselves to feel them, to embrace them, and by that connecting more to ourselves, learning to understand ourselves, learning to fully accept ourselves with all our emotions, no matter what they might be like that day. And especially as women, right? We feel so many emotions so strongly, and they can shift so quickly. And also throughout our menstrual cycle, we might feel like a different person every single day. Sometimes from 1 hour to another. It can be quite confusing, right? For ourselves and for our partners, other people around us. But yeah, it starts with accepting these emotions and learning to love and embrace them, and therefore becoming more connected to ourselves and becoming more informed of what we need, what we desire, what is right and wrong for us. Where should we set boundaries? What do we want to call in? What do we want to ask of our current or future partner? And then when we have that information and that connection to ourselves, then we can start connecting deeper to our current or future partner. And then we're also more likely to call in the right partner, to choose the right partner for ourselves, and to start building a healthy, loving, nourishing relationship.
Thank you, Steffi. That's wonderful, and I'm going to probably call you back on some of those things in the course of our talk together. Catherine, may I ask the same thing of you then? So, could you share a bit about your background, your journey, and what led you to become an integrated medical spiritual facilitator?
Thank you. It's a lovely question, and I couldn't agree more with everything that Steffi said. My particular journey, I was born with some very rare diseases, and which nobody really knows anything about, which doesn't really help.
No.
Although sometimes I think it does. But I ended up being taken out of school. Well, the most important thing was I was totally deaf for the first 7 years of my life. So how on earth I learned to speak, no one really quite knows. And then I ended up being taken out of school when I was 12, and I never went back. So I was kind of pitched into the school of life, which was great. I think that I always had this illusion that I must sort myself out, get my act together, and get back into life, be normal. And I've now come to the wonderful conclusion that, of course, there is no such thing as normal. And
I'm glad to hear you say that.
well, I
because I'm
really,
definitely
I
not.
just, I think we're all unique spiritual beings having human experiences. And I absolutely, my joke, but I actually mean it, is that I must have been as high as a kite on heavenly matters before before my spirit embodied this particular journey. And I think I went into an imaginary Amazon warehouse with the angels. And you can tell I've got vivid imagination. And I obviously went with a sort of wand. I went, I'll have a little bit of that and that and that and that and that. So I really believe that everything that has happened to me has been an incredible privilege, which does not mean that I have used magical thinking on it. You know, I've had experiences that have been very, very, very painful and tough and confusing and bewildering, to great extremes. But the privilege of having those very harsh times is that I get to work with wonderful people who are as confused as I was and still can be. I think the illusion that we can all get into, or I did anyway, was, well, I've grown up now. I now have a fantastic relationship with myself. I can go and teach it. Well, it's nonsense. It's an ongoing, for me anyway, it's an ongoing live organism. And I need to check in with myself regularly. And then I need to be the best that I can be for myself first, and then for other people. So, yeah, my particular journey has been a little bit interesting. And this might give you a taste of my superpower, which is definitely humor and not taking myself too seriously. Even when I've got spinach in my teeth and I'm doing an interview, which did actually happen, I look back and I thought, I don't think that person who interviewed me has any respect whatsoever. You'd think for all of our sake she would have told me that I spinach in my teeth. But anyway, I just think it's really, really important to actually accept ourselves as we are before we begin to go, well, who do we want to be?
Absolutely.
And I love the idea that if I'm impatient, I can begin to practice being patient, and the universe will definitely bring me opportunities.
Go for what you wish for.
Yeah. So life is an amazing adventure, and there aren't, in my humble opinion, there aren't enough of us, thank God Steffi's out there, teaching people radiantly that life is enormous fun, but you have to lean into the hard stuff. And the weather is very temperamental at times, and we can be pretty temperamental too. It's okay.
Thank you. I mean, even just introducing yourselves and getting a feel for your spirits, it fills me with so much joy, because I know that on my journey, I've at various times not liked myself at all, talk less of not like myself very much. And because certainly my ethnicity, my ethnic background, you were supposed to be a certain way, as a woman, always cheerful, always this, a bit demure, and I'm none of those things. I feel my emotions, I speak my truth, and I'm just not a very good little girl kind of person. And I always felt like I was different, and therefore different meant not good in some way, or not good enough. And it's taken me an awful long time to come to this space now where I hold myself and I nurture myself, and I actually love who I am and know that I'm here on purpose for a reason and exactly as I ought to be. And just to hear you say that, it's, even though I have self-validation, it's very, very comforting to hear that my journey is based on truth, and that it's real. So, thank you already for that. Catherine, your work focuses on helping clients translate the signs and symptoms of their mind and their body and their spirit. How does this sort of holistic understanding foster deeper self-love, would you say?
Wow, wonderful question. Okay, funnily enough, I've just done some videos, and I was talking about how one of the things in my work is behaviors shout louder than words. And so let's take a really simple example. Come New Year's, night and then day, most of us may or may not decide to make this new year different. And we will consciously kind of go, okay, I'd like to be 7 pounds lighter. I'd like to be a better lover to my husband or whoever. I'd like to be a better mother. I'd like to be a better friend, let's say, or I want to earn another £5,000 more. We sort of automatically will be propelled into making changes consciously. And then my work is helping people begin to be kind to the unconscious. So I want to lose weight. Let's take a sort of typical one that the average woman struggles with. And then, we start on the changes we're going to make. We drop lactose or whatever it is, gluten. And then 3 weeks in, something happens and we're really feeling pleased because we've begun to lose the weight. 3 weeks in, something happens, we're triggered, we don't know quite what it is, and we begin apparently to sabotage ourselves. And then we start giving ourselves a hard time, which makes the sabotaging worse. Now, I personally don't particularly use the word sabotage. My work revolves around going, okay, I wonder what you're up to. And that whatever you're up to is something far wiser than trying to lose a few pounds. So hold on a second. Let's get beside that. And most women in today's societies are dealing with a backdrop of baggage about what it means to be a woman. And how can you feel safe and sexy? How can you be clear with your communication skills when you haven't got them yet, and be only attractive to the person you want to be attracted to? You don't want to be maybe wolf whistled at. I'd be quite grateful today, but anyway, do you know what I mean? So there's a conflict, and in society and in our relationships, we're not allowed to be in the middle of conflict all of the time. And actually, we're always having conflicting emotions. Let's be honest. I really want to do this with you. And I'm going, hold on a minute, there's time difference. Whoa. Now, I'm not projecting that onto you. I'm just happily aware of it. I'm really happy to be here. And there's a part of me going, ooh, that's okay. But mostly we're not brought up to believe it's okay. So let's go back to this example. We want to lose weight. We're 3 weeks in. Suddenly we're not losing weight any longer, and we're sneaking in lactose, gluten.
Jam donuts for me. Sorry.
Delicious. So what I love is the privilege of unraveling and unpacking what a person is up to, because that will give them a much greater sense of authority, empowerment, and self-knowledge. The relationships that work are not the ones that are superficial. And most of us are taught to have very superficial, rather meaningless relationships with ourselves.
So in this particular example, what would it look like? This "what are you up to" by eating a jam donut when you shouldn't be, say?
Well, Steffi's kind of talked to one of the kind of main themes in our world at the moment is we're not allowed to feel. So what I do with people is I help them. I talk a lot about the iceberg that we have inside ourselves. So there are, when you see an iceberg on the surface, there are meters and meters and meters below of extended iceberg. Well, I can smile on the top, but underneath, it's easier to eat the donut. I wish I had one now to show you. But anyway, much easier than to feel into, am I actually hungry? And is that hunger emotional? Is it loneliness? Is it sheer overwhelm because there are so few places where I can safely say, hey, Steffi, I don't know how to do this bit of my life, help.
Yep.
I mean, just being able to say that without you two fixing me, but just going, yeah, we know that, would be validating. And then you know what? I forget to eat the donut. So once someone begins to understand, but very differently and lovingly, what is really going on, then actually that person can begin to be more in charge. Because we think we have choice consciously, but we don't until we unravel the unconscious. And what on earth does that look like?
Just aren't we, really?
Yeah. So our behaviors will tell us, and we need to learn to lovingly watch our behaviors, because we'll say one thing and then we'll do another. And the world tells us that we're sabotaging ourselves, that we're, there's sort of some little, forgive me both of you, but sort of pat, spiritual BS, as I call it, or magical thinking. Just do that. Just pull yourself together. You can have whatever you want whenever you want it. And it's like, what kind of world are you? Are you an alien who's pretending that we don't have a physical experience, which is actually, we're not allowed to say this, but it's quite complicated. We're born into Ferraris with 5 gears, and we're on the bends most of the time. Does anybody come in? Does an engineer sit beside us and say, hold on a minute, you're trying to reverse instead of go forward? And if you go at that speed, you're going to come off. Nobody gives us that. And I would imagine, I don't know, Steffi, but I would imagine that Steffi's work is quite similar. We just sit with people and go, it's okay to not know and to be in conflict most of the time. That's
I have
reassuring.
to say that has been a concept for me that I found extremely difficult. And I think that I've only truly learned it in the last year to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That it's okay that I don't know all the answers before I even start a thing. That it's okay that I don't have the wherewithal to my mind anyway, to move forward with a thing and just sit with that and be all right with it, and then do whatever next I can do, and just let it be what it will be, because I've been sort of brought up to feel that you've got to know what the next step is and be in control. And I was such a control freak, only to realize that no matter how control freaky you are, you're not really in control anyway. So just let it go. So thank you again for that. I do want to ask us, both of you really, but what's one common misconception about self-love that you frequently encounter, and how do you address it with the people that you work with or come across? Shall we start with Steffi this time and then come back to Catherine?
Thank you. I think a common misconception when it comes to self-love is that people think self-love means taking bubble baths and, I don't know, going to the spa, eating the cake, and always being happy.
Yeah.
That's what people think self-love is often. Like that's what's being suggested to us in movies. Maybe we see a woman like taking the bubble bath, eating the chocolate, drinking the champagne, and being happy and bubbly and smiley herself. But that's not what I think self-love is. Self-love is like being sad, crying in your bed, and still holding yourself lovingly when you're going through a hard time, when you're really struggling, when you're feeling lost, when you're feeling desperate, when you don't know what to do, when your heart has just been broken, when you don't know what to do with your life, when you're really struggling, and to then like hold yourself and be kind to yourself and tell yourself, it's okay. I got this. I'm going to be fine. I can take care of myself. I will ask for help. I will ask for support. I'm open to receive that help and support from others. That level of taking care of yourself, trusting yourself, and being open to receiving help, that to me is self-love.
Oh, thank you, Steffi. That's... Sorry, I'm thinking about it. Yes, I hear that loud and clear, and there's lots in there that you've just quickly rolled into a little bun for us that needs unpacking. Catherine,
Yeah.
what do you say?
I'm going to tell you a very personal story, and it's because I think it's so relevant to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, my grandmother and my mother had these diseases, and neither of them knew, and so they both became raging alcoholics. They were completely cross addicted, and now I see it really clearly. They were full of self-loathing, self-hatred, confusion, bewilderment, terror. They must have been in agony, physical agony. And then it will have impacted their psychology and their emotional state and their relationship with themselves. And there were people during my childhood who used to say, "Don't you hate her?" And I go, "No, I don't. I don't hate her." "Don't you hate your grandmother?" "No." Although I must say my grandmother was slightly trickier. But anyway, and then one day someone saw me very, very upset. And they said, "What's going on?" And in those days, I didn't really know and I couldn't articulate it. But I did manage to say to this darling woman, why do people want me to hate Mommy? She's sick. She's not well. And this darling woman with such softness in her eyes, she said, "Because they don't know any better. And please, can I make a suggestion?" She didn't impose anything on me. She asked me, which was really clever. And I said, "Yes, please." And she said, "You can dislike the disease, but you can carry on loving her." And I think the relationship with ourselves sometimes is like that, where it's okay to not like aspects of our behaviors. It's okay to not like our impatience. It's okay. I loved what Steph said about the bubble bath and the spa and self-love it's an incredible alchemizing journey. It's one that takes great courage. And you need to put on the marigolds, as I call them. For some people in the world, marigolds are just rubber gloves when you're doing the washing up. And you need to be willing to get dirty and really lean into the bits of yourself that are not at ease, dis-ease. When I'm being impatient, I'm at dis-ease. I don't like it. So that very wise woman began something then and there. She asked me whether she could support me, and I said, "Yes, please." And the truth about my relationship with myself is I might know all of this stuff. And there would be still times if I was living next to Steffi where she would see that I was in complete resistance to doing whatever it was until I'm not. So I think that this relationship with ourselves has to embrace all of nature. And sometimes you're in a tsunami, even with yourself.
Thank you for that insight. That's deep. I don't have to like all my behavior, but I can still hold space for myself and allow me the space and time to grow into who I am wanting to be. Thank you for that.
The key thing about the relationship I had with my mum in the end was I could not, I don't think I could have loved anybody or respected anybody more, because I really began to see that she every single day tried to be somebody that she wanted to be, but she was in so much pain she couldn't get there. And hurting people hurt. So all these judgments that we have about other people, what about we take the judgments away and we go, they're hurting. Can I participate in maybe supporting them in that hurt? Or do I need to protect myself and keep away from that hurt? But I definitely have never, ever become better than my darling mother. And I'm the privileged one because I know what I'm up against. She never knew it. Do you see what I mean? Of course she became an alcoholic. My goodness, I don't know why I'm not an alcoholic. I'm sometimes in so much pain. That's a reality. It's okay. I mean, that makes life so much gentler, kinder. It's like, oh, I don't have to do this perfectly. Like, I've just screwed up. I didn't switch off something. Do you know what I mean? If you two have a problem with that, then okay, that's your problem. It's not mine. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing my best.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Steffi, what's one challenge that your clients, a common challenge, shall I say, that your clients often face with relationships, and how do you guide them towards some sort of resolution through, like we said, first of all, understanding self and giving space for self, and then in the actual relationship? Do you find some
Yeah.
common thread? I'm sure there are several, but maybe just tell us about one.
Yeah. I would say it always starts again with ourselves, with our self-awareness. What is my behavioral pattern here? Like, what is my relationship pattern that is challenging in this relationship, and where is this coming from? Often it comes from our childhood, from the relationship to our parents, how we grew up. That impacts us a lot subconsciously and how we relate to others. So starting with that awareness, like observing ourselves, what am I doing that might make this relationship more difficult, or that might cause me to choose partners that I can't have a healthy relationship with? Like, what is playing out here, and what pattern keeps showing up again and again in my relationships? Usually we keep repeating the same pattern until we heal it. And healing it starts with becoming aware of it. And that starts with taking an honest look at ourselves. What am I doing? Where can I be honest with myself, and where can I work on myself to heal a past trauma or a painful experience I've had? Where can I start building more trust and love with myself that I then can also bring into this relationship, and that helps me to look honestly, vulnerably, authentically, kindly, and compassionately at myself and at my partner as well. And then when I have that clarity, the next step is to communicate openly and honestly and vulnerably. And we are so scared of that. And we haven't learned how to do that usually. Most of us haven't learned that. Like how do I communicate honestly and vulnerably what I'm desiring? It's so scary. Or how do I communicate my boundaries without losing the other person? There's all these fears coming up of being rejected, not being good enough, not being chosen anymore if I show my true self, if I show all my emotions, if I speak my desires and also my boundaries, what I don't want to participate in. We are so afraid of not being loved and accepted for who we truly are. And at the same time, this is our deepest longing, our
Yes.
deepest desire. It's our deepest, like, natural human longing. We all want to be loved and seen and understood for who we truly are. And yet that seems so difficult and so scary, because what if the other person doesn't love us the way we are, doesn't accept us the way we are? What then? Well, then we need to fall back on self-love. But if that's not there, what then? Then we feel lost or rejected, and then we're in pain, and then we're suffering. So we are our own safety net, our own self-love is our safety net. If we love ourselves and accept ourselves the way we are, and we have that safety within, then we don't need to be as scared of someone maybe not fully seeing and loving us the way we are, because then we know that that person is just not a right match for us. Then we just choosing the wrong person to relate to. But then we trust and know that someone else will see and love and understand us when it's the right person we're choosing to relate with. But communication, I think, is the second biggest key factor in building a loving, nourishing, healthy relationship, and also in sustaining it. Because in every relationship, even if it's the perfect match, there will always be challenges. There will always be complications, things we have to figure out, things we need to heal together in a relationship, things that come up to the surface. Everyone has their triggers, and it's normal to have differences or challenges in every relationship. Like, no relationship is perfect. And then we need a conscious, healthy way of communicating. And I believe that the right communication can solve almost everything. But without that communication, what are you going to do, right? You just create more separation, more distance, more misunderstanding until someone runs away and tries to find their luck somewhere else. So, yeah, communication.
Do you think so then that in a large part, most of the work needs to be done by yourself on yourself, and even facing yourself sometimes is probably the most difficult thing that you can do? And this is a question for both of you, because like really being honest about what you want, who you are, what your preferences, it can be quite hard, because a lot of us, I think, we've built this person, this masked person, if you like, but that's not necessarily who we really are, because we're afraid to show up as who we really are for fear of rejection and all of this. So how do people start to sort of, how do you even unmask who you actually are away from parental, societal expectations and ways you feel you should show up, rather than what you really feel and who you really are on the inside? Catherine, can you help?
I think there was something that Steph said which really got me sort of thinking about the work that I do with people. And I think it's part of the possible answer to your question. A lot of the people that I work with haven't got a clue what they desire, what they need, what they want, what they desire. They don't even know what it looks like. And I'll give you a sort of wonderful example, which is almost like a taboo subject. So, Ade, you can shut me down quickly.
No, it's all right. All topics on the table.
So let's just take a relatively straightforward relationship between a man and a woman. a man, when he's making love to his woman, he's going to use everything he's got, if he's relatively conscious, to satisfy the woman before he's satisfied. And a conscious man may say to the woman, what do you like? What, which bit of your body, kind of, do I need to tickle? Because it's not necessarily the obvious places, okay? Now, a lot of women would be just appalled at even that question, because they don't know, actually. They haven't gone round kind of going, is it here? Yeah. Oh, right there. Do you know what I mean? You can, of course you can, and I'm not belittling, what you can do by yourself. But there's a lot to be said for experiencing all sorts of relationships in order to get to know perhaps what we need, then the luxury of what we want, and then, hey ho, greater luxury, what we desire. But it's an ongoing journey. And I think it's up to women like ourselves to just be soothing and encouraging. And I mean, I was thinking the other day, I'm just about to go into my 45th surgical procedure, which is, it's a big deal. And I've only just come out of another one. And I was just sort of sitting with myself and asking myself, Catherine, what do you need? And I thought, I need to tell myself how well I'm doing and how well I've done. And there's no one in their right mind who wants to go kind of in between. They don't want to live their lives between procedures. Okay. But I am so privileged to have this life. And this is the life that I have. So what I did was I sat with myself and I literally listed all the ways in which the majority of people have no idea. It's too frightening. Almost nobody, including the consultants. I mean, I've written a book called The Pain Paradox, and people still, the consultants will not ask me why I'm not on this long list of drugs. And mostly I'm not. So mostly when you have unique lives and you dare to live outside of the norm, it can be quite lonely because people are too frightened to come in and be beside you. And I was sort of thinking to myself, gosh, Catherine, you really have become your own best friend.
That's incredible.
And that's an ongoing relationship. And I will take myself to the next procedure and I will be able to ask the nurses and the doctors and consultants how they are. I don't have to be a patient. I can be the wellest, sickest person you know. That's my choice.
That's a new one, the wellest, sickest person. I love that.
You just have to look at my x-rays and you go, oh boy. But we can do that.
Wow. I'm actually in awe of that. I knew that you'd been through several procedures, but I had no idea that, it's like 45 and counting, which is incredible.
Yeah, I've been completely rebuilt and I've had 2 strokes, and in my particular life is a privilege because I go, if your time is up, your time is up.
Mm-hmm.
But if it isn't, you can have the audacity to thrive and to love. That's the medicine. And with that, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to leave. I really want to spend more time with you both.
You've got to you've got to go. Thank you so much for staying with us this long and for your wonderful, wonderful energy and for everything you put into the world. And thank you for honoring me and coming on and sharing all your wisdom. Much love to you. And I'll
Thank
be in
you.
touch anyway. Okay.
Stephanie, lovely to meet you.
Likewise, so nice to meet you, and good luck with your next procedure.
Thank you.
All the best to you and your healing.
I'm one of the, I like to think that I'm an SAS agent for God and he needs me in the hospital. It's not the other way around.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, what a wonderful person. I don't know if I
Yeah.
could possibly have her sense of humor and presence under her circumstances, but yeah.
Very inspiring, very beautiful to
Very
see.
inspiring, very inspiring lady. So what would, coming back to the question though, Steffi, how do we begin to unpick ourselves? That's the real essence of the question. How do we get beyond the superficial layers and how we tend to project ourselves versus who we really are on the inside?
Yeah. It does take a lot of courage to take an honest look at ourselves, at who we really are, with all our flaws, with all our imperfections, with all the mistakes we're making and we have made in the past. Like none of us is perfect. So accepting that, being willing to take a look at that. It takes a lot of courage, and yeah, uncomfortable emotions might come up. So we want to take that one step at a time. But I think even a step before, it starts with the choice to wanting to become a better person, wanting to grow, wanting to evolve, wanting to be there for others, wanting to improve our own life. So I think that's the initial beginning of why we are choosing to do this work, is because we're having a certain goal in mind, either for our own benefit or for the benefit of those people around that we love, for our partner, for our children, for our parents, usually for the people in our life that we love, or the people that we are serving, because we want to be of service, we want to fulfill our purpose here on this life, having a positive impact on others and on this world. I think that's the initial reasoning why people choose to start working on themselves. And often, unfortunately, it's out of misery and pain. Often people also need to get to a certain level of pain and suffering where they say, enough, I can't take this anymore. I got to do something. I have to change something. I don't want to live like this, or I'm not going to survive if I keep going in this direction. Some change needs to happen. That's the other reason, when people are in pain and suffering and they have this realization, okay, I need to change something. How can I help myself? What do I need to change to increase my own life quality? And then again, to be a better parent, a better partner, and so on, because relationships to others are so crucial for our own well-being and for our survival. There's this subconscious safety mechanism that we are aware that we need other people in order to survive. That comes from a long time ago when we lived in more tribal circumstances where we would have been, we would have probably not survived. We would have been lost without the support and the safety, the protection of our community providing for us. And also as women, of course, when we're becoming pregnant, when we're getting a child, we do desire the support and the protection of someone else taking care of us and supporting us on this journey as well, to keep ourselves and our babies safe. So I think there's a lot subconscious playing out there as well. So there's many good reasons to start working on ourselves, both consciously and subconsciously. And initially it can be hard work, but it also doesn't have to be. It doesn't always have to be hard and painful. It also depends a little bit on how we're approaching it. Do we approach it from a place of compassion and kindness towards ourselves? Do we love ourselves through this process? And do we get the support we need? Do we allow others to support us through this? Do we have a loving community and relationship around us already? Or can we find that? Can we create that? Can we reach out to professionals supporting and helping us? That's where we come in with the work we are offering. And that's so beautiful.
I wanted to say next is, you know, yes, it can be a bit of challenge to start, but I'm feeling, because I've also been through the processes, how do you even, what are the tools that might be available to the everyday woman, and how can they start to apply these? And for me, a very important one was counseling and coaching and all of that. But maybe not necessarily so. Maybe there are things that people can do for themselves to begin to unpick themselves and really think through what it is they're about, who they want to be becoming, and what they want to allow in their lives. What tools would you suggest?
I think it brings us back to emotions. We're all emotional beings. So it starts with like feeling our emotions, allowing them to come up, to feel them, to let them move through our body. Also somatically, like everything is happening in our body, everything that's happening in our mind and on an emotional, subconscious level, even on a spiritual level, it's all also connected to our body. And that's also why so many people are sick. A lot of disease is dis-ease, it's emotional discomfort, it's things that are being stuck in our body, emotions that are being suppressed and numb, pain and trauma that are not being healed, that are stuck in our body. So movement helps a lot. Starting to move, starting to feel our body, to connect to our body, and allowing these energies, these emotions are really energy in motion, allowing them to start moving, to move our body with that. It may be like shaking it out, shaking it loose, breathing life into our body, connecting to our body through the breath, dancing, moving, yoga. There are so many like somatic practices that help us to start connecting to our body, to feel ourselves, and then allowing ourselves to feel the emotions that are rising and letting them come out, and making the sound, the noises, allowing ourselves to cry, allowing ourselves to shake, connecting with the breath as well. So in Tantra, we learn that emotional releases happen to breath, sound, and motion, movement. So we're bringing all three together to allow these energies to start moving, to come up and to come out. So we want to feel it, to release it. So we want to feel it fully. And of course, it helps to have a safe space for that, to be comfortable in your own home, or to be with people that make you feel safe, that hold you safely. You don't want to push it or force it, because you don't want to overstretch your nervous system. You want to take it step by step, as much as you can handle, and then always come back to a calm, meditative, and loving state afterwards, to come back to holding yourself, loving yourself, to integrate and calm your nervous system back down. So safety is a big aspect, and that's something we are offering as space holders, as facilitators, in whatever shape or form. If we call ourselves a healer, a coach, a therapist, we're providing that safe space for someone to feel and to show up as their full authentic self, to be their honest, truthful self, and to be fully accepted and loved in that. And love is the most healing, powerful energy on this planet.
Totally concur with everything that you said. But one interesting thing that I wanted to ask you in particular is, like, You have clients all over the world. Have you noticed any cultural differences in the way that people approach this whole self-love thing? I mean, some people say that self-love is selfish and what's all that about? And, how do you adapt your guidance and your coaching to perhaps encompass different kinds of cultural leanings?
First of all, I noticed that our fundamental human needs and desires are the same for all of us. We all desire to be loved. We all desire to be seen and heard and understood and accepted for who we really are. Every human has the desire, both men and women. That's all we're craving. Being loved, seen, heard, understood, and accepted, and feeling safe. Feeling safe in ourselves and feeling safe in our environment, the humans surrounding us, and having a loving connection to others. Those are like the fundamental human needs and desires that apply to everyone, really. So in that sense, there's not much difference. Yeah. The only difference is like how disconnected are people from that currently? How far away are they from that? And how many steps does it take them to get closer to that? Like, how can we help them to connect more to that sense of love, compassion, kindness, and safety within them, so they can start, connecting more to themselves, looking at themselves differently, and from there becoming more of their true, authentic self. And from there, they find the clarity and they find their answers of what do I need, desire in my life? How do I want to live my life? Who do I want to spend my time with? What is my purpose? What is the work I want to do? Like, the more and more the clarity emerges, the more we get to know ourselves. And that starts with feeling ourselves and being honest with ourselves. And of course, it can help to communicate about that with someone else asking us the right questions, helping us to look more inside, to investigate together in a safe and loving space.
Do you think nature and being in it has any role to play in self-love?
Absolutely, yeah. We're all part of nature, and in nature, our nervous system can relax. Our nervous system plays a big role in all of this. If we are relaxed and more like open and connected in a relaxed, regulated state of our nervous system, or if we are in fight or flight or freeze mode. And that's where a lot of people operate in this world. They are in fight or flight or in freeze. And a lot of people are not even aware of that. A lot of people have learned to function and cope being in a freeze mode. So getting people out of that, getting them to relax their nervous system by feeling safe within their body, within their being, and that helps to be with that. It helps to be in nature, because nature is automatically like regulating our nervous system. It's helping us to ground, to calm down, to feel more clarity and connection, also to something greater, whatever you're believing in. But it is a spiritual experience just to be in nature, to be on top of a mountain, or to be in a forest, or to swim in the ocean. All of these elements have a different vibration, a different frequency that our nervous system is automatically like aligning to. So it has a calming effect. It can have a very cleansing effect to be in the water, for example. I think almost everyone experiences that when they go into the ocean, into a calm ocean, and they're floating around and they're coming out, they feel more calm and grounded and relaxed and cleansed, because the ocean is often literally like washing things away. And a lot of people feel very like naturally drawn to water sources like oceans, rivers, lakes. Personally, I love the forest
I
because
love
the
the
trees are
forest.
very
Lovely
grounding.
place. Yes, I
Yeah, or
love
being on top of a
being in
mountain,
the
feeling
forest.
free, feeling like expanded and clearer in my mind. So I think everyone like naturally has these like preferences of what element they connect to and where they feel they can really exhale and relax. But nowadays, unfortunately, a lot of people don't spend much time in nature anymore. They're in big cities, they're in concrete, they're in their houses, inside the office all day, looking at screens. So they are so disconnected to nature, and that also contributes to us being disconnected from ourselves because we're numbing ourselves with the screens, with the food we're eating, with what we're drinking, with all kinds of distractions and coping mechanisms that disconnect us. And I think coming back to nature helps to coming back more to our own natural being, to our own natural state.
Very grounding. I make an effort, a conscious effort to be in the forest at least once a year. I mean, for several days, just to be with the trees, and I
Yeah.
love it. It really helps.
Yeah, from my own experience, I can share like when I used to live and work in Norway. Sometimes I was very stressed at work because I had a lot of responsibility. I was working many hours, and I would come home like exhausted, tired, stressed, tense from all the stress, from all the pressure. And I would go and take a walk in the forest, and 10 minutes into the forest, I would feel like my whole body relax, my shoulders relaxing. And 20 minutes into the forest, I would ask myself, like, why was I even so stressed? I almost forgot. Like, I was just like being present with the forest, with like automatically. I was becoming present and was becoming relaxed. And I was like, okay, now all these like struggles and problems I had before, like suddenly don't seem so big anymore.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I agree. So what one practice would you say, maybe daily practice, can the listeners adopt to nurture self-love? Which one would you choose?
Hmm.
I mean,
Oh,
there's
there's
loads.
many to pick from.
Yeah.
Obviously, going into nature is a great one. I would say any kind of movement that helps us to feel our body, that helps us to connect our body and touching our body. Like, don't be afraid to touch yourself, to hold yourself and in any loving and nurturing and supportive way. Like, so many people are like, they don't even touch themselves. Like, and also touch yourself for pleasure in whatever form that makes you feel loved and helps you to feel and connect to this beautiful body and start loving and accepting your body the way it is, no matter what it looks like. It's a gift to have this body. It's a gift to be alive. It's a gift to be able to move, to go into nature. It's a gift that we have these fascinating bodies that help us to feel and to experience life. So connecting to your body but through movement, through touching yourself, through going into nature, I think that's a great start to connect more.
I think my own second thing would be really my journaling practice, because in there I just oof it all onto the page, and then I don't even write properly. I just write. So it's no commas, no full stops, no paragraphs, nothing. I just download exactly how I'm feeling, and somehow by getting it all out in the page, I can process things consciously better, having got the things in my unconscious mind just out of the way. I couldn't tell you how it actually works, but it does work. It works very well for me. It keeps me mindful in the moment and able to start processing maybe some emotions that I didn't understand, but just getting it all out onto a page every morning, and it really helps me. So maybe it might help
Yeah.
somebody else out there.
Yeah, that's certainly a great tool become more aware of what's going on inside ourselves, to see what comes up, and to take a look at that without any judgment.
Yeah,
Just
no doubt.
allow it all to come up and out onto the paper, and maybe be surprised what's there. But
Yeah,
then that brings more clarity, right? And
it
gives us
certainly does.
direction.
And
Yeah.
also holding it all in my head, so there's and I can't make any sense of it. But once I start like writing, somehow things just seem to fall into some sort of place, and then I can begin to think about each thing in turn, or not in turn, but address the things that I've written, not even consciously, rather than get
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
stressed by lots of things running around your head. You know there's lots of things, but you're not even aware of what those things are because you're just giving them free rein. But I find that when I write about them in no particular order, I am able then to reframe. I'm going to ask you a final question, and I feel sorry that it's come to an end because I've really enjoyed our time together. But if there was just one message you'd like our listeners to take away about love, about relationships, or self-love, what would...
Don't be afraid of emotions.
Mm,
Allow yourself to feel it all, and trust that your emotions are here for you. Embrace them. They're messengers. They're telling you something, they're informing you, and they're helping you to actually heal and to liberate yourself. Feeling your emotions and allowing yourself to feel them all while holding yourself with compassion and kindness and self-love is so liberating. And you're going to feel lighter afterwards. It might be hard while you're in it, but it's not going to take too long. It's not going to take forever. There might be some uncomfortable minutes or hours, but have the courage to go through that in order to release those emotions and those old stored pains and traumas, because it's there. It's not going anywhere unless you feeling it and allowing it to come up and out fully. And then you become a more regulated, peaceful, healthy, and joyful being, because you're releasing all that heaviness. But there's no other way than feeling it, and coping with it by suppressing it and distracting yourself from it is not going to get you very far. And so don't be afraid of it. Like, yeah, like, and hold yourself through it with all the like compassion and acceptance and self-love and kindness. And if you feel you need support with that, get that support. Allow someone else to hold you safely with love and care and kindness. Yeah. You're welcome to reach out to me or to many other amazing practitioners. Reach out to your loving partner, to your best friend, whoever you trust, whoever you feel safe with, someone who's where you feel not judged, who's not judging you, who's loving you unconditionally. And I know a lot of people don't have someone like that in their life yet. They need to find someone, or they need to be that someone for themselves that loves them unconditionally with no judgment whatsoever and accepts them fully as they are. And yeah, try to be that one for yourself, or try to find someone who does that for you in the beginning, to show you and to help you connect to that, and trust your journey. Take one step at a time and trust that after every challenge, every heartbreak, every like bottom, life will always go up again. It's like life always goes up and down. We all have to go through the ups and downs. We can't avoid the downs. But when we're down here, it's important to remember that there's going to be a way up again, and it's up to us to choose that and to help ourselves on that way up again. And yeah, life always goes on if we're choosing. So if we want to connect to life and to love, it's available to us, and it's within us.
Thank you, Steffi. Really very, very grateful. My heart is actually full. I've had such a
Mhm.
wonderful time connecting with you and just, listening to you and drawing from you, that I'm going to have a great time just meditating and thinking on all the things that we have talked about today. And to the viewers, we've heard today that love and self-love, they aren't just concepts, they're practices that shape how we live and how we connect with the world around us. So thank you again, Steffi. Thank you to Catherine. And Valerie, I know you couldn't be with us today, but a shout out to you too. Your insights will inspire so many of us to approach love for ourselves and others with renewed purpose, I do hope. Listeners, thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to share your thoughts, your questions on our upcoming Q&A episode. Give us a like, subscribe, and leave a review. And remember, you can always find more insights and resources on our social media channels or in the show notes. So let's continue this journey together. And until next time, take care and keep embracing the power of love.